Hey there, friends. So we are on chapter 5, identifying students' commitments. This was a really cool chapter because this is something that God laid up on my heart when I first started here. And I didn't realize it had a name. I didn't realize there was a process through which to go. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in this video. So on page 83, he talks about Patrick, who was a youth worker whose premature enthusiasm and changes created big problems in his ministry. And basically, he went to a workshop and he took everything that he learned and he tried to apply it all at once. And that's kind of what we talked about when we did scorecard, to resist the urge to jump in and try and change everything all at once. So here at Southport, we have what's called a vertical team. And it's consisted of Allison Brindle, who is the nursery ministry director, Debbie Evans, who is the children's ministry director, and then me as the youth ministry director, and then Pastor Devon for young adults and beyond. And we have met once and are meeting again during the summer, and we are actually planning an event to bring the different ministries and families together in September. So you'll be hearing a little bit more about that. But basically, when we met together, we decided we cannot tackle all of these things all at once effectively because that's going to create chaos and confusion. So we have targeted in on some very specific areas that we can work on in each of our ministries to work together this year. Side note, didn't cost you anything extra. Page 84, Patrick had focused on the purposes, but he hadn't thought through the various commitment levels and the receptivity each commitment allows. His programming mistakes give us an opportunity to learn a few principles, like one program cannot effectively fulfill all 5 purposes. And we've talked about that a little bit, how our Wednesday night program does fulfill 3 or 4 of them, but it cannot do all 5 effectively. There's just not time. And that's why it's so important that Sunday school and our Wednesday night Bible study work together, as well as other ministry opportunities that we offer. One program can't effectively target all students. So the rest of the chapter talked about identifying the types of students that you have. And I do not mean gender or race or what school they attend or socioeconomic background. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about kind of where they fit in the youth ministry. And this is something that Allison and I worked on. Like I said, when I first got here, back in, I want to say it was January, we sat down and looked at the student rosters that we have for Wednesday nights, for Sunday mornings, who comes, how often they come, how committed they are, that kind of thing. And so the reason we did that is because I have a list, and I'm looking at it right here on my computer. I have a list of 29 students who we have connected somehow to our youth ministry, okay? So these 29 students are in 5 basic categories that we established based on attendance and commitment and involvement and things like that. So I'm going to share those with you and explain to you what happens with each of these categories, okay? So the first category we have is our prospects, okay? These are students who have never been to our church, to our youth ministry. They are out in the community, okay? For example, the people that live 2 doors down from me, they have 2 middle school daughters, and they are on our prospects list. So Miss Annette Davis, one of our awesome youth volunteers, has been sending cards to all of our prospects on this spreadsheet every single month, okay? That's the first group. The second group is the floaters, okay? Oh, no, sorry. The second group is the visitors. The visitors are the ones who have been maybe once, maybe twice to either Sunday morning worship or our youth ministry or both, but they are visitors. They've only been once or twice. For example, Ellie is super, super good about bringing friends. Adam is super, super good about bringing friends. All the time, we're constantly meeting new people that they're bringing, and these are visitors. The third category is floaters. These are people who come to our church and or our student ministry, but they kind of float in and float out. You might see them 1 week, and then you might not see them for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then they come back. And then you may not see them for 2 weeks, and then they come back. They're not consistent. They don't always come to Sunday school or always come to Wednesday night. They are floaters. The third category, or fourth category, so we've got prospects, visitors, floaters. The fourth category, I call them the worship only, okay? So they only come to Sunday morning worship. They're not plugged into Sunday school, and they're not plugged into Wednesday night Bible study. So we've got prospects, visitors, floaters, worship only. The fifth group is our regulars. I don't call them core the way that he does here in the book because our regulars are kind of in between committed and core. So they're there all the time and they're growing, but that doesn't mean they're at the point where we could send them out on their own to mentor or disciple or whatever. So we have 5 categories here at Southport. We've got prospects, visitors, floaters, worship only, and regulars. And the way that we gear our program is basically our visitors, when normally, sometimes this happens, but normally our visitors don't come to Sunday school. Okay? Normally our visitors come to the worship service or they come on Wednesday nights. And so our Wednesday night program is very much geared towards reaching someone who has never, ever been, never heard the gospel, but also we go deep enough in the lesson to reach our floaters, our worship only people, and our regulars. So the whole goal of these 5 categories is to take students from one category and move them. I don't want to say move them up because that sounds very weird, but you know what I mean. So for example, let me tell you a story. We have 2 sisters who have been coming to our student ministry for the past several weeks. And previously, they were on our prospect list. They had never been. Someone in the church knew them, knew that they would get a lot out of our youth program and hearing the gospel here at the church. And so they sent us their names and addresses and we started sending cards as prospects. Then they came 1 or 2 times and that made them visitors. And now, honestly and truly, they are some of our regulars. They're here every Wednesday night, every Sunday morning, and one of them just prayed to receive Christ. How awesome is that? So the purpose of this, and I underlined this because I thought it was so important, the circles or these categories provide us with an identification, not an identity. So we're not saying, okay, well, you're a floater and so you're always going to be a floater. No, just because you're a floater right now does not mean that you can't then become a regular. And that's the goal, because eventually we want our regulars to become core students where they are motivated to be discipled and to grow in their faith every single day and to tell others about Jesus. So our question this week, and it's a pretty thought-provoking question, so make sure that you think through it just like you've been doing with all the previous questions. I love reading your answers. They are awesome. Keep it up. So here's our question. What are the steps that students can take to move to the next level of commitment in our student ministry? So what is it that they can do to move from worship only to be a floater? So I'll give you an example. We have 2 awesome students who have never been to Sunday school or Wednesday nights, but they're very faithful in worship attendance. So what will it look like for them to move from worship only to become a floater or a visitor and then to become a regular? What can we do as leaders and what can we instill in our students to help them do to help people move throughout these categories? I hope you have a great week and I look forward to seeing you again soon.